Credit card debt crisis in America. 1 in 6 Americans behind on utilities. Doom spending and layoffs. Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Please also share this video with your friends. Thank you for your support. Today, I read several financial news articles. I've included links to the articles in the description below. I encourage you to read the articles to support the authors and news sources. As a private American citizen, I'd like to report and share my transformative thoughts through commentary regarding small sections of these articles that are of public interest. Today, I read an article on Yahoo Finance put out by CBS News and written by Elizabeth Napolitano titled, 1 in 3 Americans have more credit card debt than emergency savings. The author referenced a new study from Bankrate that revealed 36% of Americans say they have amassed more credit card debt than emergency savings. That's the highest percentage of participants to say so in the 12 years since Bankrate added the question to its annual survey. 63% of U.S. adults point to inflation as the main reason why they are unable to save for the unexpected. The author went on to indicate the survey revealed that 45% of people said rising interest rates are behind their lower savings account contributions. Well, my friends, life is tough in America for many people. Inflation has probably impacted everyone watching this video in some way in the past few years. Food costs more at the grocery store, daycare costs more, car insurance has gotten more expensive, homeowners insurance and property taxes have gone up so much in some areas that it is more than the principal and interest for the mortgage. I'm sure some of you think that's not possible, but look it up for yourself. You'll find plenty of evidence out there from real Americans who have experienced this. Many people have not seen their wages keep pace with inflation, and they simply don't have enough money left over each month to save. The author of this article went on to say that 21% of Americans say they'd resort to using their credit cards to cover an emergency expense of $1,000 or more and pay it off over time. In my opinion, this is incredibly foolish. If you don't have the money today to pay for an emergency, how are you going to have the money later to pay off that credit card debt? Given the high levels of interest that credit card companies are charging right now, the debt will continue to grow larger and larger month after month. Some people will put themselves in an even worse financial situation. In my opinion, people should look for ways to increase their income, even if this means taking on a part-time job. If that is not possible, look for ways to live further beneath your means to free up additional cash. Neither are fun, but sometimes you need to take control of your personal financial situation. Now, if you are shocked that 36% of Americans surveyed have amassed more credit card debt than emergency savings, you better sit down and prepare yourself for this next story. I read an article on ZeroHedge.com written by Tyler Durden, likely a pseudonym for writers at ZeroHedge, titled, Utility Bill Debt for Americans Hits Record as Heating Homes Now Seen as Luxury. The author of this article references a new Bloomberg report from the National Energy Assistance Directors Association that reveals U.S. household utility debt hit a record as an alarming number of Americans can no longer afford heating and cooling their homes. NEADA said 1 out of every 6 ratepayers is behind on energy bills, adding residential utility debt hit a record last year of $20.3 billion. As of September 30th, there were more than 7 million households on utility bill assistance. Well, my friends, this is tragic. I hate to hear about Americans who are unable to afford their utility bills. I cringe thinking about small children who are in a cold house, apartment, or trailer. America is a world superpower, yet we have people who can't afford to heat their homes. Some people may have to moderate the temperature in their homes to keep their energy bills down. A programmable thermostat may also help. Utility bills can get very expensive. I remember when I bought my first house and received my first gas bill in the winter. I was shocked that it was approximately $350. At the time, I was only bringing home about $900 every 2 weeks as a public school teacher with a master's degree. After taxes, insurance, and retirement were taken out, my paychecks were pretty small. My annual salary was approximately $29,000 back then. I was working on my Ph.D. at night during that era. I was paying for my tuition out of pocket so I didn't have to take out any student loans. I certainly did not have a lot of extra income back then. Fortunately, I had rented out several rooms in my house to 3 friends who were paying me rent and also splitting the utility bills with me 4 ways. If I had to cover all of the bills on my own, it probably would have been very tough. We have experienced a lot of inflation since then. According to the BLS, the annual mean wage in America for a full-time worker in 2024 is $53,490, or about $1,028 per week. That's a lot more than I was bringing home decades ago. But I can see how some families could have a hard time covering all of their bills on that level of income in 2024. We are living in an era where the median home sale price last November was $387,600. More people than ever have $1,000 car payments. This is why you shouldn't be surprised that people can't keep it together financially. Many people are relying on credit cards just to survive, or they are gravitating towards buy now, pay later loans, which seem to be everywhere nowadays. It is a sad state of affairs here in our great country for many Americans. You might ask, how are some Americans coping with all this? Well, some are doom spending. I read an article today on yahoo.com, put out by WWD and written by Kanika Talwar, titled, "Despite Economic Woes, Young Consumers Want to Live in the Moment." What is doom spending, you might ask? Well, the author indicates it is the act of spending money despite economic and political concerns. The author goes on to reference Caitlin Walsh Epstein, who says consumers are overwhelmed by financial planning and there has been an uptick in emotional spending. Gen Z and millennials are choosing to live in the moment rather than acquire long-term financial security. Now here is the most interesting part. The author says one potential source of this emotional spending is the mass layoffs happening across the board. Jobs are being cut left and right, although early 2024 reports remain hopeful that the economy will come to a soft landing. Well, here are my thoughts. Do you really want to believe government officials and their soft landing narrative? If you do, maybe you also believed officials when they said there were WMDs in Iraq and inflation was transitory. In my opinion, if you are feeling bad about your financial situation, spending more money isn't going to help. You might get a short burst of happiness when you buy some new article of clothing or some new plastic junk, but after that happiness wears off, the debt remains. You don't want debt in this high interest rate environment. You also don't want debt if we happen to enter an ugly recession. You want to be debt-free with a pile of cash so that you can take advantage of an opportunity to load up on assets when they go on sale. I wish some young people would realize living in the moment and racking up debt is foolish. I truly worry about some of these people. Some young Americans have their parents as a safety net. Some parents might be able to bail out their kids if they get laid off and can't cover their bills. Not everyone here in America is so lucky. Some people have parents who are in worse financial shape than they are, or they don't have parents who are still living. Whenever you drive down the road and you see someone with a cardboard sign begging for money, that should be a reminder to you of what could happen. If you have no family safety net, no savings, and you lose your job, that could be your future. Especially if we enter an ugly recession and credit card companies start reducing credit limits or closing credit accounts altogether. Far too many people survive on credit and live paycheck to paycheck. If you get laid off and there are no more paychecks and the credit dries up, reality may hit you in the face like a ton of bricks. What do you think about this? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. A moment ago, I talked about what could happen to people if they lose their job. I think more people need to be prepared for this possibly happening, especially if they work in the tech industry. I read an article today on Yahoo Finance, put out by Fortune, and written by David Meyer, titled, "The Tech Jobs Bloodbath Shows No Sign of Abating." According to the author, eBay announced yesterday that it would say farewell to about 1,000 people, or 9% of its workforce. It blamed a challenging economic environment and said the aim was to align and consolidate certain teams to improve the end-to-end experience and better meet the needs of our customers around the world. Investors cheered, sending shares up 4%. Well, my friends, this is just one more example of a company laying off people in 2024. I have been reporting about layoffs recently here on the channel in previous videos. Did you pick up on the fact that investors cheered and eBay's stock went up 4%? This just shows you the disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. People should be concerned about this. Many of these 1,000 people may own homes with mortgages, and they may no longer be able to pay those mortgages. Many of these 1,000 people may have car payments, and they may no longer be able to pay those, resulting in their cars getting repossessed. Many of these people may have credit card debt or buy now, pay later debt, and they may have to default on that debt. Layoffs can have ripple effects across the economy. This article went on to list several other companies that are laying off workers. A company called Brex announced yesterday that it was laying off 282 people, or 20% of its workforce. SAP said yesterday that it is laying off 8,000 people, or 7% of its workforce. Vroom announced Monday that it was laying off about 800 workers, or 90% of its workforce. Riot Games is laying off 530 people, or 11% of its workforce. As I reported about yesterday, TikTok is laying off around 60 people. This is all happening during a time when politicians and the mainstream media lead us to believe our economy is booming and everything is great. Yes, the S&P 500 has been doing great recently, but the stock market and Main Street are quite different. My heart goes out to all of the people who are losing their jobs at the companies that I listed. I hope they are able to secure new employment quickly so their families are not impacted. I don't want to minimize the layoff numbers that I just shared with you because some of these people have seen their world come crashing down right before their very eyes recently when they got laid off. But these numbers are small potatoes compared to what we could potentially see if we do enter an ugly recession. I worry that many everyday Americans don't have their financial lives in order to weather a financial storm if and when it hits. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Please keep in mind that everything in this video is for entertainment purposes only, and nothing in this video is financial advice or advice of any kind. If you need advice, seek advice from a qualified professional in good standing who puts your interests first and foremost. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Please also consider sharing this video with your friends. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. Check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.